Hey guys, and welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be talking about shed antler hunting. And it can be hard enough to find a buck than determine where he's going to walk and place a perfect shot on him, let alone find out where he drops his antlers. And today, and with the help of social media and different trends and hashtags, more and more people are starting to get into shed antler hunting. As the search for the needle in the haystack, so to speak, is getting more and more popular, it can start to get discouraging as you head out, come home empty-handed, get on social media, and see that everybody else seems to be finding every shed in the county while you're having the worst luck in the world trying to find them, or at least one yourself. So today's video, we're going to talk about 5 tips that will increase your chances of finding sheds out of field, and I guess here we go. Tip number 1, you have to go where the bucks are. This is gonna sound super silly and almost will make you wanna roll your eyes, but think about that for a minute. Are you searching where you never see deer? Are you looking in a spot where there's maybe 5 deer per square mile and then hopefully one of them is a buck? The best thing you can do is put the odds in your favor. You gotta seek out areas and places where there are high deer densities. Make your trip a weekend getaway or a full day extravaganza. Get out there, know where you have deer, use the QDMA website, look at the map, find where there's heavy deer densities and get in there and look for the deer there. Next step is looking on public or private. And in conjunction with going to where there are bucks, you gotta understand the difference between public land and private land. If you have the luxury to access private land to shed antler hunt, you're in a little bit better position than most people who are looking on public land. But if you choose to search for antlers on public land, the key is getting out there first, not early. I'll say that again, get out there first. With private land, you can often wait until you believe all the bucks have shed their antlers. You can make one big day, sweep the property. But with public land, if you wait that long, there's a good chance somebody's gonna beat you to the punch and they're gonna get out there first and they're gonna find them. So the key is to get out there late December, early January. Most of the Northeast, late December, parts of the Midwest, same thing. Get out there first. While you're out there, keep a lookout for any deer that you may bump into. And if you find many of the bucks are still wearing their headgear, give it another week, go back and try again. The key here is to make sure you don't bump them off the property. So you want to try to be, as discreet, scent-free as possible and do a low-impact search, which we'll get into in the next tip. Tip number 3 is just look for sign. If you can go where there's sign all over the place, you're gonna have better odds. We know there's not a shed antler hunting crossing sign afield, but if you look up where you would set your stand, look for the sign that's most promising. You're gonna focus on heavily used trails between bedding and food or bedding and water. And I know this time of year, many pregnant does, as well as rut recovering bucks are relying heavily on water. So I'll often seek out small secluded water sources that have heavily used game trails leading up to them. These are really good spots to find shed antler. Another spot you can look are just the wide open spaces. If you have the luxury of having, winter wheat out there, get out there and look in the wide open spaces. Before I even started shed antler hunting, I never really had much luck looking in the fields. I would look more in the secluded areas, but several of my biggest sheds I've ever found were in the wide open. You're gonna wanna go on a real sunny day, use the binoculars, get out there where the light and the sun are going to reflect all your antlers. That's the best place to go. The areas I like to focus on in the wide open are low spots, drainages, edges and corners, also hilltops. Oftentimes I found a lot of bucks enter the field at the low areas, especially at night as the thermals are dropping, which can be their first spot. They stop, grab a bite to eat, and as they spend a great deal of time here, I'll find a good handful of sheds in that location. These places on both public and private have produced most of my sheds that I've ever found. So don't skip over the wide open spaces, don't skip over the fields. Sunny days, highly reflected, use your binoculars, you'll have a great option there. Lastly, tip 5, transition areas. No matter if you are in the Midwest, the southern region, Northeast, finding sheds in transition areas seem to be the best spots. If you're in an area that gets a lot of snow, like Michigan or New York, parts of Pennsylvania, even Missouri, head to the cedars or the pines. Find where these pines are, these cedar thickets, and they butt up to the hardwoods. And honestly, look for a change in cover and do the same regardless if they are, early successional forests forest or hardwoods to cedar thickets. Once you find these spots on a map, and you know, once you get in there and you find these transition areas, go in like 30 yards on each side, you know, inside the hardwoods or inside the cedar thicket. Oftentimes you're gonna find the buck bedding areas are in the cedars or, you know, in these thickets. So as they work their way from the bedding, they're gonna drop their antlers within 75, 100 yards, and walking up and down these transition areas is gonna give you a great low impact approach to finding a few shed antlers this season. Lastly, bring the family and do some speed scouting. We have yet to see shed antler hunting as a competitive sport like hunting is on social media or amongst friends, you know, in general, basically. So let's try to keep it that way. I'm much of an introvert and I love to be alone when it comes to deer hunting, but shed antler hunting, I love to bring the whole family, bring friends. And while I'm doing this, however, I'm not just out strictly looking to, you know, find sheds. I'm also enjoying my time with my family. I'm marking locations on the onX maps, and I'm getting ready for next season. Some of the things I'm looking for is buck sign in the form of rubs, scrapes, as well as buck bedding areas. I mark every shed antler I find on my onX map. I mark any major game trails or heavily browsed food sources. I find as well, one of the big things to keep in mind this time of year is it looks pretty similar to late fall. So getting a feel for where you might want to set your late season stands up, and this time is a great spot to give you a great advantage to come prep for that season. So keeping your tabs on your deer, not over pressuring them as we're hunting through and looking for these sheds is something that, you know, we're going to try to do as deer hunters to predict deer movement, kind of like a weatherman predicts the rain. All the information that you can stack in your odds and you can collect while you're out shed antler hunting is going to make you a little bit more successful next season and a little bit more successful as a deer hunter. So if these tips helped you find some more sheds this year, I hope they do. Give this video a like, give it a thumbs up, and put in the comment one of your favorite tips that you've always used to make you more successful in the woods.